Most church leaders I know are really good at helping others, but sometimes they struggle to be vulnerable and transparent enough to be able to allow others to supply their own needs. And here's the greater tragedy. Without a coach or a mentor or a counselor to point those things out, most leaders are blinded to the fact that they're relationally out of balance. Are you showing signs of relational imbalance and you don't even know it? Let's dive in and find out. Stay tuned until the end, and I'll share a real-life example of a pastor who was out of balance relationally. Hey there, I'm Ryan Franklin, and this is Church Leader Made Simple, and I'm here to help you get the clarity needed to move your church forward. If you want to join me weekly, just hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notified as soon as I post a new session. And without any further delay, let's get to it. If a person is going to be an effective relational leader, it's so important that the leader learns to ask for his or her relational needs to be met. And if they don't, as I talked about in the last session, there's no doubt that it will lead to an internal imbalance that leads to a lack of fulfillment, burnout, or possibly even derailment. And so if a leader can be blinded to this deficiency, the question is how can we bring more awareness to this area of our life? How do you even know if you're deficient? Matthew 7 verse 16 says, "You shall know them by their fruits." Verse 17 goes on to say, "Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit." Now, I don't believe that there are many church leaders out there that are literally corrupt and producing evil fruit, but the principle still applies. Church leaders will know whether or not they're relationally out of balance by the fruit that they are producing in their personal lives. If you're vulnerable and transparent with others, if you're being yourself, if you're able to work through conflict with your spouse or team members or those closest to you, and then get back to love and connection with those individuals, if you're not trying to always be perfect in everything you do, then chances are you're probably relationally balanced. But if you're constantly feeling like you're drudging through mud to handle tough conversations, or you're constantly fighting negative thoughts, or your bad habits seem to continue to surface in various forms in your life, if you're having trouble identifying what's most important in your life, if you're feeling disconnected or sad or frustrated or alone on a regular basis, and you're getting stuck in this state of mind, then there's a good chance that you're relationally out of balance. Here's the problem. Sometimes you're so conditioned to see that particular negative fruit in your life that you're literally desensitized to the effects of it. It's a blind spot for you. You may not even realize that it's there. I was working with a pastor recently, and he couldn't understand why he felt so empty inside. And no matter how much he prayed and spent time with God, he couldn't really shake the emptiness and the aloneness that he felt. He was surrounded with people, his spouse, his leadership team members, his church members. He even had the presence of God with him. But he still had a feeling of being alone. And he also struggled with trying to muster up enough energy to move his church forward. And we identified the negative fruit as emptiness, feelings of being alone, and that lack of energy. And as we started diving deeper into trying to figure out what was actually going on with him and those things, we realized that he had lots of acquaintances called friends. He even supplied a lot of their needs, but he never engaged with them on a deeper level. He never allowed anyone to see those most intimate parts of himself. It was a defense mechanism that he created in his early years of life to protect himself from relational pain and hurt. And he didn't even realize it. But the result was an emptiness and a lack of energy to do the functional things needed as a pastor. And when we started prying into this, just bringing an awareness to what was actually going on, that alone helped him in a tremendous way. But as we began to focus on his relational life in our coaching sessions, he very quickly began to see some changes in his energy levels and began to feel a fulfillment that he had not felt in a long, long time, if ever. And the Bible says that you will know them by their fruits. You may have heard me ask this question in previous sessions, but I want to ask this again because it's so very important. What negative fruit are you producing in your personal life? Now, I want you to keep in mind this negative fruit may not be extreme or overly terrible. It may show up as something mild, but it may be something that you want to bring clarity to in order to really go to the next level of success in your ministry and leadership. And so if you're seeing some things that maybe you're just not quite satisfied with, it's not where you really want it to be, then it's so important to follow the negative fruit back to the soil of your life to find out what ingredients are responsible for it. If you're seeing negative relational fruit in your life, there's something that is disrupted in the soil. What nutrients are you missing? Are there any toxic components that need to be dealt with in order to move closer to the relationships in your life? At the core, what's causing this negative fruit? One thing I've found to be true, the right people in my life can drastically improve my internal circumstances. And if you're a church leader, I know you're a phenomenal person who deeply cares for others. But I want to leave you with a couple questions today. Number one, do you have the right healthy people in your life that will deeply care for you? And number two, are you being transparent enough to allow them to move closer to you and to provide those key relational nutrients? If you're watching on YouTube, you can take a screenshot of those questions. If you're listening on podcasts, you can find the questions within the blog on my website. Take a chance with the people in your closest circle. Open up to the right people. Be transparent. Be vulnerable. Share the emotions that you're feeling inside. Engage in those meaningful and growth-producing relationships. Spend a few minutes processing that over the next few days. I promise it'll make a difference. And I promise it will make a difference in your life, and it'll make a difference in the environment and the culture of the ministry that you lead. Coming up in the next session, I want to dive deeper into a tension that seems to overwhelm us at times. The tension of productivity versus relationships. Thank you for giving me your time and attention. Please hit the like button. It really does make a difference. And be sure to visit churchleadermadesimple.com. There's a free 7-session course called Leader Life and Rhythm that you can't find anywhere else. Oh, and by the way, I would greatly appreciate you sharing this content on your favorite social media sites. It just helps me extend my reach, and I greatly appreciate it. Have a great day. God bless you.